Well, hello and welcome to Wildcat Week. I'm Roger Alcock. The Wildcat football team is about halfway through their off-season. The program has undergone some changes since the end of their first year, and here to talk a little bit about that is the head coach of the Wildcats, Jordan Langs. And Coach, it's hard to believe, but we're getting into spring ball. But I did want to go back just a little bit and talk about last year, the first year, that success of that first season, and just ask you, how maybe has the perception of Wildcat football changed, or maybe the expectations changed from what you think people went into it last September?
Yeah, I think everyone, when they started football now 3 years ago, I think that the expectations are always super high, and everyone knew that. Now, I think expectations were tempered maybe for 2017 when we were in our exhibition year, but as soon as you go out and you win 7 games and beat 5 conference teams, obviously they shoot right back up, which is good. I mean, none of us showed up here to have low expectations, so we're totally okay with that. I think probably after one half of our first game, I think expectations changed, and I think when everyone saw that how hard our kids had worked to get where they were and the talent level and just kind of how well things were put together, I think that's when things kind of flipped, honestly.
So since now the end of the season, to this point, the start of spring ball, what does the program look like? What are the kind of priorities, and what have you guys been up to?
Yeah, I mean, recruiting is every day for us, but when you get done with the season to middle of February, your hot time recruiting picks up, because that's the time you're trying to get decisions out of kids. And we were blessed. We put together our 3rd recruiting class, which was a very talented class, and so that's kind of took up a lot of our time. We had some staff turnover, and some changes that we're really excited about. But for our kids, there's a little bit of rest time in there, but they're starting their off-season training 2 weeks after the season's done. As they're getting into the thick of that, we're really in the thick of our recruiting, and so it's really that first part of winter is a really heavy time. You
mentioned this is now the 3rd recruiting class. How has recruiting changed from that first class to this 3rd class? I mean, at first you just got to get guys in here, guys who fit, the mission and the school. But are you fine tuning it a little bit more in terms of like specific needs, or is it still?
Well, yeah, the need changes a little bit, but also our process changes. When we got here and first started it, the first class really started recruiting not quite 3 years ago, but soon, and it was me and a computer. And then Coach Terrazas and Coach Aldrin came, then it was us 3. We brought in 50 guys in about 2 months. And so we were recruiting at this kind of mass quantity system. Now we're at the point where we're hosting 1 recruiting visit each week. Kids are staying the night with our players, and our players do a phenomenal job with them. It's a much more in-depth detail. They go to class, they go to chapel, they're on campus. So it's much more fine-tuned. And now, we're already on to the next class. We're on to the 2020 class, and those juniors are coming to our spring practices. Then they'll come for summer camp, and then they'll come for a game day visit, and then an official visit. So we really kind of got the system. It's not perfect because we need to keep getting better at everything, but it's a little more fine-tuned, so it's a little more systematic now.
Can you speak then just maybe a little more specifics about this particular class? Is there anything stands out in terms of what this class might look like for you guys?
Yeah, I think the one thing that, we have our niche is the way, how specific we are about building our culture. And obviously IWU has a certain culture, but even our subculture is really specific, and we think it's really strong. So we're getting better at recruiting towards even our culture within IWU. And so these players are coming in with a lot of excitement and buy-in, the talent's up there. For us, this year we're recruiting kids that are very talented, but this is the first class where we didn't have to necessarily recruit immediate impact kids at every position. The last 2 classes, we're looking at kids going, okay, can they contribute, because we need them to in August. And this class is a little bit different. We're finally into the stage of our program where we're good developing kids and letting them kind of go through the process and get better.
I think one of the things some people thought about was initially, you got to bring in a ton of transfers and all this kind of stuff to compete early. And you've had a few key transfers, but this is not a team or even classes that are just loaded with transfers. You're able to bring in some young guys to build the program and the culture, but also blend in some really nice transfers that fit very well.
I mean, for us, we're not going to change off of who we are. I mean, if a transfer fits who we are, then we'll take them. and we think he can contribute to what we're doing, we'll take him. But we're from the very beginning, we never wanted to microwave our success. We might have won quick and early like we did last year, but it wasn't microwaved. I mean, those guys should be here, and most of them are guys that we recruited coming out of high school. So we want to build a lasting foundation for the program. So we're not just trying to pick and go. With that being said, we've had some really key transfers, and because they come in, they fit who we are, and then they're also very good.
Well, we have the spring game. You're in the middle of spring ball now. How's that going, and what can we expect in that spring game in April?
Yeah, I think that it's going really well. Our kids are, we have a new defensive coordinator, we have a new offensive line coach, so there's a little bit of processing going on, but man, we're really blessed with kids who are bought in, had a great offseason and training. I'm blessed to have a coaching staff that's elite. Mm-hmm. So that stuff's coming together, and I think what you'll see on April 13th, so we'll go against each other in some controlled settings, but our guys should be markedly better than when you saw them on November 17th because of the offseason training they've had in our trajectory. So things are a little more faster, a little more physical, a little more bigger than they were a few months ago, so that's good to see.
Setting the stage for the fall of 19 then. Pretty exciting to start the year, start the season on the road down in Indianapolis at Butler, an evening game there. That should be a lot of exciting, but it'll be a real challenge for sure.
Well, the thing that we're kind of talking about in-house is you might as well get ready for 10 challenges. I mean, there's where we're starting to pick up the mantra of put the ball down and play. It doesn't matter who you play, where you play, and you got to go against Division I teams, you got to go against national champions, 4 ranked teams, if not more, as they come. So put the ball down, let's play, because if you're going to play at Indiana Wesleyan, that's what it's going to be about. And
you'll be a full Mid-States League member next year. A really awesome slate of home games next year. And it starts out with Missouri Baptist, and you have Olivet Nazarene coming in town. That should be a great one. Lawrence Tech, homecoming. Really good Siena Heights team. Marion to close out the season. So there should be some really good football in Wildcat Stadium.
Yeah, and because of the conference win, you're going to get that about every year. I mean, every year you're going to have ranked teams come into your house, and you got to play them. And we're excited about going, hosting Olivet, that first ever night game. I think that'll be really hyped, and we've got to be really focused on what it takes, because there's no looking forward to any game. We need to take on what's at us every single Saturday, and if we're focused on that, and you're focused on doing that in the best conference in the country, you'll ultimately reach the objective that you want.
Well, Coach, again, just thanks for coming in, giving us the update on Wildcat football, and we're looking forward to next fall already. Sure. All right. Well, as we said, we're looking forward to seeing the Wildcats back in action in 2019. Be sure to check out tickets for that home slate. It should be really outstanding. Well, when we come back, we'll talk to some student athletes from the IW swim team right after this. Well, welcome back to Wildcat Week. The women's swimming team traveled to Columbus, Georgia to compete in the NAIA National Championships over the spring break. So joining us now in the studio from the swim team, sophomore Linnea Holgrem and freshman Sydney Darnell. Did we get it right?
Yes.
Little inside joke there.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to talk to you guys a little about swim because, of course, we talked football, and that's the new sport, but swim is the other new sport here at Indiana Wesleyan that maybe not as many people know about, but you guys have had a really great start to this program and a great second season. So we want to talk a little bit about that. But first, we got to get to know you. So I'll start with you, Linnea. Just give us an idea where you're from, what you're studying, and kind of how you got to IWU.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Orlando, Florida area, but this summer we just moved to Oregon, so I feel much of like a nomad kind of, going from place to place. But so originally from Florida, my major is in strategic communications, and I'm focusing on the PR side, and I also just added a minor in journalism as well.
So how'd you hear about IWU, and what drew you to Indiana Wesleyan?
So we have actually really good family friends of ours, and they've worked at the school, so like all my life I heard about IWU, but I really wasn't focused on it that much at all. But it was the summer before my freshman year, our family friends got in touch with Coach Larissa here, and she told her about me, and Coach Larissa reached out to me, and I was like, you know what, it's worth a shot going to take a visit and see what the campus is like. Because I originally was just going to like take a year off and go somewhere else. But I came here and I met with the coach and I took a campus tour and really prayed about it because this was not at all what my plan was, but I felt that God was really leading me here. And so, yeah, so I decided to come here. So it was all through our friends. Yeah.
All right, so Sydney, now you're a freshman here, but tell us where you're from, what you're studying, and again, like, how'd you hear about IWU and what drew you to this swim program?
I'm from Waseon, Ohio, and I'm studying psychology and addictions counseling. And I heard about this because my older sister actually comes here. So I visited her a couple times and just got to know the campus, and then also obviously visited on official visits, and then also met with the coach and decided that I really liked it here. It really felt like home for me. So.
One of the things, and I've got to know the swim team just a little bit and be around you guys, one of the things I've noticed is, and Linnea, I'll ask you, you being one of the veterans now in your second year, but it's a really tight-knit group of young ladies. I mean, sometimes in swim, which is such an individual sport in a sense, you don't get a sense of team, but I definitely get the feel that this is a really strong team and a group that likes to be around each other.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And my past experience with club teams, it was exactly like that. We weren't really a team. It was a very individualistic mindset. So yeah, the girls on this team, I would call them my sisters. We're so close together. I love them to death. And yeah, it's a great environment.
Well, I wanted to take you back to way back in October. I think it was October the 13th, but you started the season, first meet, it's at Purdue. So as a freshman, what was that experience like? A little nerve-wracking, fun, exciting, a little bit of all the above, or just what do you remember about that day?
I thought it was, I was a little nervous, but I was excited. It was kind of all of it, but I was used to meets like those, just being, from even way before high school, being in big meets like those until through high school. I was in big meets like those. So it wasn't really anything new. It was just something, different atmosphere because it was college. So it was really fun.
And Linnea, you were through a season, so you kind of knew what to expect, but there was another first for this team this year because joining the Mid-South Conference, more towards the latter part of the year, you've got to be a part of a conference meet and a conference championship.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone really knew what to expect, but to finish runner-up in that first conference meet, I think that was a pretty good statement to kind of how much the program has already grown.
Yeah, it definitely was a big statement, and we obviously had no idea what we were going into, but with last year's experience of being at nationals and our big meet at Calvin, we kind of knew what was going into, but yeah, it was a fun experience at conference.
And so then that sets the stage for the national meet, which is, Sydney, much different than high school or club. I mean, we're talking 4 or 5 days of swimming, different events. So I think you can participate in a lot more events. But you had, let's put it mildly, a pretty good meet yourself. I think you're All-American in 3 individual events and part of 3 All-American relay teams. So take us over, what's the environment like at a national championship meet and just kind of the excitement around that?
It was super fun. I've never really been to a meet like that before, just where everyone was just having such a fun time. It was definitely new because in high school I was used to having prelims one day and finals the next, with only doing 2 individuals and maybe 1 or 2 relays. And so definitely the endurance that it took to be at nationals was an experience, but it was a good experience. It was so fun.
And getting back to the team aspect, Linnea, you're part of the 200 medley relay team that finished on the podium in 6th place there. But to be a part of a team, you really have to kind of rely on each other. You have to know each other in terms of your exchanges and things like that. So to finish on the podium there with that relay team, that had to be a blast.
It was a blast, and it was just so much fun, and I was really proud to be a part of that group of girls. We all encouraged one another, and I think they helped me a lot just in being comfortable and getting ready for that race, but it was a special moment.
Okay, last question, I'll give it to you, Sydney. Now that the season's over, it's a long season, that's kind of what I mentioned, all the way back in October. But for a swimmer, you really don't have an off season. What's it look like now between now and the start of next October?
I would say I'm just working on doing a lot of lifting and strength training from now until then, and also obviously some swimming too. So I'm just working on just getting stronger. So
a bit of dry land
yes,
work, and then
that's what we call it.
in the
Yes,
pool as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
All right. Well, guys, congratulations on a great year.
you.
Can't wait till next season, and maybe someday we'll have you back on Wildcat Week. I know it's a dream come true.
Yes.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thanks
you.
for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Well, when we come back, we'll have the breakdown, and we'll talk to Kyle Mangas from the men's basketball team about their season. So don't go away. We'll be right back on Wildcat Week. Well, welcome back to Wildcat Week. Now we send it over to Mikala Woodfork with this week's breakdown.
Thanks, Roger. Both of the tennis teams faced St. Xavier, but unfortunately were not able to come away with wins. The women's team lost to Xavier 7-2, and the men's team lost to Xavier 6-3. With all the rain we've been having lately, the sun decided to pop out a little for baseball. The team faced Marion 3 times and were able to pull 1 win out of those 3 games. The first game they lost 3-2, the second game they won 9-0, and the third game they lost 10-3. Finally, softball was able to squeeze in a game against Grace during the short period of warm weather as well. They won this game 6-4, making this their 5th straight win of the season. Well, that's all I have for you this week on The Breakdown. Back to you, Roger.
All right. Thank you so much, Mikala. Now joining us in the studio, an award-winning basketball player. He's probably embarrassed I just said that, but Kyle Mangas joins us. Kyle, welcome to the show. And I know a lot of people kind of know your name because you've been starting here at IW for a couple of years, and they watch the games and so forth, but a chance to maybe get to know you a little bit more as a person than as a basketball player. So tell us a little bit, tell the folks like where you're from,
Sure.
and kind of like when you're in high school, what were you thinking about in terms of your college decision process, and why did you ultimately choose Indiana Wesleyan?
Yeah, so my name's Kyle, and I'm from Warsaw, Indiana. It's about an hour and a half north of here. I'm a sophomore and majoring in finance, so I'm interested in business. Yeah, I had a great high school career in Warsaw. For my family, my mom Ann, my dad Tim, and I have one brother Jake. He's 2 years older than me. He goes to IU and he's finishing up his last semester. And we have one dog, one mini golden doodle, and he has a family nickname. His name's Mango.
Mango. So,
Yeah.
so you probably want to stay close to home so Mango could watch you play.
Yeah, I do love having Mango around, so yeah.
But you're in high school, and as you mentioned, a very good high school team at Warsaw. You guys had a lot of success there. So you're being recruited by a lot of different places. I know you had developed a relationship, though, with the coaches here at IW, but
Yeah.
kind of like what was it about the basketball program in Indiana Wesleyan thought, yeah, that's the place I want to be?
Yeah, I started talking to Coach Tonagol and the IWU coaching staff when I was a freshman in high school. Actually, I came to IWU for like a basketball shootout camp in the summer, and they saw me and we just started talking and kind of hit it off. And I came to so many open gyms and workouts, junkyard workouts they call them, out in the summer, throughout high school, sophomore year, junior year, and then I committed like the end of my junior year to IWU. Yeah, so I would say just the relationship with the coaches I built with them from an early standpoint, and then I would come and I got to know some of the players like Jacob Johnson and Ben Carlson. Like I got to know them really well, and the culture of IWU's program just stood out way more than any other program. It wasn't even that big of a decision for me. Like it was IWU the whole way, and not really many other schools were in the picture.
So you get the Indiana Wesleyan, and like you said, you've developed some good relationships with people. Then you start getting into the basketball thing. Is there anything about, especially maybe league play, that once you got into league play, you're like, oh my goodness, this is definitely a step up from what I knew?
It's really competitive, and every guy in our league is good. Stronger, quicker, more skilled, faster. So it's a whole different step than high school, and you don't really know what to expect until you actually play your first couple games, and you go like, wow, this is it.
And you're also into a program where you're competing for a conference championship, and if you're competing for a conference championship, you're in the hunt for a national championship. That's just how good the conference is. So could you have ever imagined, though, and in your freshman year, last year, you'd win a conference championship and then go into that national tournament and come away with national title? I mean, it's a lot to ask, but it's a heck of an achievement.
Yeah, I don't know if, I mean, that's what the goal was at the beginning of the season, but to actually like accomplish that goal is pretty crazy. Win the conference, and it's the best conference in the country. Like this year, we had 5 teams from the Crossroads that made it to the national tournament, and then, yeah, like just to have that success is pretty special.
Well, and that national tournament, the NAIA national tournament, there is no other tournament like it anywhere in the world, because, I mean, you're literally competing for a national championship where you have to win 5 games in 6 or 7 days, and there's no time off, there's no resting injuries. It is really an endurance battle, isn't it?
Yeah, last year when we did win it, we won 5 games in 6 days. You get 1 off day, and that's on Sunday, just to recuperate a little bit. But yeah, if you have injuries and fatigue issues, you just got to fight through those, because I mean, every team has to face that. So just kind of a mental thing at that point.
So now season's over, looking forward to next year already. What do you kind of do in the off season? You work on individual skills, you do some open gym. What kind of, how do you keep that edge?
Well, actually, next week we're already starting things back up again. We'll be lifting, I think, 4 times a week as a team, and doing individual skill workouts. And then we all go home for a month, and we come back in June as a team on campus. We live together, like work camps, lift, do workouts, that type of thing. Then we all go home and have specific things that we work on too. So, like it's a yearly thing, and that's for all sports, especially at the collegiate level. Like it's year round. It's not just in season. The off season is just as important. So it's a grind for college athletes, I would say.
Well, Kyle, it's been a lot of fun the first 2 years. Looking forward to next year, but we hope you have, between now and then, a great time, and we're looking forward to next fall already.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
All right, that's all we have for you on this episode of Wildcat Week. If you'd like to see more of Wildcat Week, you can visit our website, wiwtv.com. There you can watch past episodes and connect with us online. Again, that's wiwtv.com. And you can stay connected with all our local programming by subscribing to our YouTube channel. That's WIWTV 51. Well, we look forward to seeing you next week. So for all of us here, thanks for watching Wildcat Week.